case, we will do reading. No, let's start with the reading from John 5. If you can stand here, be in the shade and everywhere.
After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem, by the sheep gate of Pool, which is called the Pool of Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first, after the stirring of the water, was made well of whatever disease he had. Now a certain man was there who had been crippled 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, and knew that he had already been in that condition a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. While I am coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed and walked, and that day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said to him who was cured, "It is the Sabbath, it is not lawful for you to carry your bed." He answered them, "He who made me well said to me, 'Take up your bed and walk.'" Then they asked him, "Who was the man who said to you, 'Take up your bed and walk'?" For the one who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn, a multitude being in that place. Afterward Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "You have been made well. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you." The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus.
Amen.
The name of the pools, the sheep pool, we came to the sheep gate. The temple we're just north of it, very close to the temple. A pilgrim coming to the temple, coming with an offering, he sacrificed a dove, by the way, it doesn't have to be an animal, it can be flour. But the most common thing was sheep. They have to be clean. They have to take the sheep through. The original function of the pool was to wash the sheep, and only then they can take it after the people themselves took a ritual bath, not the same, to the temple. And the animal has to be in a perfect condition. The smallest defect. Originally it was called the Pool of Bethesda, the Pool of the sheep. Now we are just north of the temple, and this area is actually higher than the temple. The temple, many people think they see like the temple is in like the Acropolis in Athens, like the peak, the highest mountain, topographically. This is not the case. It doesn't have to be in the highest spot. It was protected with a ring of mountains around it. It says in the Bible, Jerusalem is also surrounded by mountains that are like giving a hug or protecting Mount Moriah. So it also makes it easy to worship, because in the temple we need to use a lot of water. We need a huge amount of water. We don't have a spring, we don't have a source of water. Where you bring the water? They were collecting rainwater. In the north, this side is the highest. From here, in this direction, there were drainage lines collecting water. Even though the Romans broke them all, some are still working today. This was a place where they were gathering the pools, really for the use for the animals that are going to be offered at the temple. So that's the original function of the sheep pool. When the Greek conquered Jerusalem, they see that this is something connected to something holy, and they built here a temple for the god of healing, the Greek god of healing. On top, like they're trying to bring their idols into the temple, anything connected they tried to take, and this was taken by the Greeks. So they take it and they built here a Roman temple next to it, probably where we are standing now, for the god of healing. And this started a tradition that if you'll be in the water and once in 40 years the water will trouble, it's not a spring, it's not a lake, it's just a water reservoir. if once in 40 years the water will trouble, you will be healed. So the Greeks started this tradition. It's not a Jewish tradition, but the Jews that are here later on adopting that. And they're waiting. So beside of all the sheep, there's a lot of sick and handicaps and people sitting around and waiting for this moment. And here on the Sabbath, when Jesus is coming and the water are troubled, everybody are jumping into the water. The pools were deep. Where later on what you see is what was excavated from the church and was built over it hundreds of years after. This man cannot even move from where he sits on his carpet to the water, and all yes, he doesn't have to go into the water. He's asking, are you believing? You have the power if you only believe, and here it is happening. And what is also amazing here is, and this is it's not a coincidence that there were 5 pools. Why they mention the number, there are 5 pools. The people that are standing around are counting on the Old Testament. 5 books of Moses, 5 pools, and they are blind to see what Jesus is doing right in front of their eyes. They completely ignore it. And what they ask him, not wow, how you were healed, who told you to take your mat, your carpet? Why? On the Sabbath, you're not allowed to work. Part of it, you're not allowed to carry everything. Even though carpets aren't heavy, but they don't care about the fact that you will heal and how and who, but the fact that they lift this carpet.
Exactly. Really missing the point.
Like you violate the law of the Sabbath.
Right.
So they can't. It's also symbolically we have the Old Testament, the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, and we have the new message or the current message coming, and this is right under your nose. You don't have to look for so far. It's here, but you have to open your eyes, and that's what this place is showing us. The meaning of the name, the Pool of Bethesda. That's how they call it in the times of Jesus. Is in Hebrew, in Aramaic actually, Hebrew and Aramaic very, very close. Faith, like Bethlehem, house of something. Bethesda means grace, the house of grace.
Wow.
This is the number, this is the name of the place. So this is the place of grace. And later on, 500 years after, a big Byzantine church was built over the pools, covering them. What we have open here today is just a small part. About 2 of the 5 pools are excavated.
Wow.
The rest are under the buildings where Muslims are living behind it. So, about double this plus much more, probably, or that's what the size. In one of the pools, there's still water gathering today. You see underneath us. Later on, the Crusader, this is many years after, the 12th century, the Crusaders conquered Jerusalem. They were there in Jerusalem for about 90 years, 90, a short present. The Crusaders are responsible for many mistakes that we have because the Crusaders were looking for things in the Bible, and if they didn't found them, they made them. Now they
Made a mess.
They see the house of grace, grace connected to Mary. So they added a tradition that the birthplace of Mary, Mother Mary, was here. It's not the case. And they built a church, this building, for showing the birthplace of Mary, St. Anne Church, Mary's mother. It's not the place. This was a Greek temple originally, but it became to be a church, a Crusader church, 12th century church. The mosque is conquering the place from the Crusaders. They know nothing about it. This is all recovered, and the mosque was converted to be a mosque. Something very unusual happened over here in the 19th century. A Christian group was able to purchase this place from the Muslims. Very unusual. The Muslims are willing to sell in place of a mosque. And it was converted back to be a church. And then they started to excavate and they found the original location of some of the Wow. What is amazing that is this church, the Crusader Church, is untouched. It's one of the most well-preserved Crusader churches in the world.